What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition Power Gamers Tactics Room. I'm your host, Bill Braun Bafflestone, and today we are having an episode of my Metagaming series, where we look at Dungeons & Dragons from a more holistic perspective. Today, I wanted to talk about power gaming and table dynamics. But first, I actually have a sponsor today. When I'm not playing Dungeons & Dragons, I like to read and learn stuff. And one of my problems is that I have a long list of books that I want to read and not enough time to read them. So I actually love Key Book Club. I've been a member for over a year now, and I really appreciate the summaries. Very well written, lots of cool topics. Uh, I really would recommend it to anyone. So it's not that I'm just trying to make a buck here, although it would be great if you want to support the channel. I would definitely recommend this to anybody who just likes to learn things. So Key Book Club, check them out. So power gaming and table dynamics. So one of the things about my channel is that I don't like to sugarcoat things. I'm not afraid to speak my mind, and I'm not afraid of uncomfortable truths. And the fact is that power gaming is heavily associated and correlated with arrogance, condescension, and being a jerk. I often get a very visceral response from people when I even bring up the term power gaming because it immediately conjures in their mind a lot of negative connotations, which, real talk, is often deserved, right? I mean, let's face it, the power gaming play style attracts a lot of the robotic low EQ type, myself included, and sometimes this can cause some friction at the table, both with party members and with the dungeon master, because most players aren't power gamers. I would say we're probably a pretty small minority, and most players are role players who are much more concerned with developing personal characteristics and world building than becoming as powerful as humanly possible. And so if you are playing with role players, sometimes they're not going to appreciate a guy who is vastly more powerful than them and is constantly stealing all of the hero moments and making them feel like extras in the movie that is Dungeons and Dragons and not leads, as every player character should be. And it's doubly grating if it's attached to a really insufferable personality, right? Where you're just belittling and condescending and, expressing displeasure at the dumb choices that people make and yada, yada, yada. So that can be, pretty disruptive. And let's face it, Dungeons and Dragons has a built-in mechanism that allows us to unleash our inner demons because, hey, I'm just playing a character, man. I'm doing a bit here. I'm chaotic neutral, right? We've all heard that before, but grow up. That's not what it's for. Power gamers have to take this into consideration. With the DM, we have to keep in mind that I would say, generally speaking, that DMs come from the pool of players that are role players, right? Because they too are obsessed with developing personal characteristics and world building, whereas power gamers are typically pretty happy to just be slaying stuff left and right and leaving the work for other people. So I think it's going to be fairly unlikely that your DM is going to embrace your power gaming. I mean, if you do value that DM, that's pretty rare, I would say. And so you might be bickering with him a lot over, rules interpretations and things that you want to do. And there's always the risk that he is going to overtune because a lot of DMs aren't comfortable with a power gamer that's not routinely challenged. And so can be tempted to throw something that's just like way too powerful at the party. And guys, this is Dungeons and Dragons. It's a single D20, and there's a lot of save or suck mechanics. A few bad die rolls, and the next thing you know, it's a total party kill. And that's no fun for anybody either. So these are things that we absolutely have to keep in mind as power gamers. So I'm going to put a few notes on the screen and take a more structured look at what I call harmonious power gaming. In terms of working with the dungeon master, you should definitely talk to him in advance about all of these crazy tactics that you want to try. And don't spring it on him in the middle of combat that, you're going to be like, I'm going to web this guy and then I'm going to firebolt it. And now I just did 300 damage. And he's going to be like, what? No. And then you argue and you're just like wasting time and it's not very respectful of the other players, and this is something that you should absolutely have worked out in advance. My character has plans A, B, and C, and I've already talked to my DM about all of them. That's not only to my advantage because I now know the parameters of the spells and the tactics and how they're going to work, but when I actually use them, it's all going to go smoothly, and there's not going to be any arguments that are going to impede on anybody's gameplay. In terms of DMs, you also need to concede to minor nerfs. I mean, make your case, but the DM say is final, and as a power gamer, you should be able to leverage the rules to your advantage, no matter what they are. As long as the DM is consistent, I'm never, too upset about a particular ruling that he makes. Along those lines, never ask for overpowered interpretations. Respect the game and have some pride. Okay? A power gamer doesn't need to ask for obviously outlandish interpretations in order to get an edge. We should be able to dominate within the rules. To ask for an obviously ridiculous interpretation, like my previous example about the web and the 300 damage thing, that's just stupid. You really need that? To me, that's like moving the 3-point line into the top of the free throw circle because you can't make threes. Anyway, clearly I have some feelings about that. Have some pride. Play within the rules. Then, invest in your character's story and background and role play and stuff. I mean, the DM is going to appreciate that as opposed to you just being this beggar constantly trying to get favorable rules, interpretations, and leverage game mechanics. He wants you to be invested in this world that he's building, and you should be. That is like so much part of the fun. Just as an example, my characters, or my DM, was kind enough to allow my character to transition to chronergy, and he just asked for a couple of paragraphs to explain how that happened. And I wrote him a 4-page story because, one, I'm having fun with it, and two, I want him to know that I appreciate this world that he's built and this campaign that he's running for me to have fun in. Then in terms of working with other players, you need to adapt your power gaming to synergize with the party. That's your role and your challenge as a power gamer. You can't be out there doing your own thing and then get all upset if the party is stumbling over each other, because that's what you do. Okay, role players gonna role play. Power gamers got a power game. Okay, and that means making sure the party works as a well-oiled machine. Okay, I never set out to make a hide wizard with a stealth suite of abilities in this game. When I was invited to join, I just, started to get a sense of what other players wanted to do. And I realized, okay, nobody's taken any roguish abilities and nobody's taken a wizard. So I'm going to go in that direction. And now I have a character with deception and not arcana, which is quite a departure for me, to be honest. And it's driving me crazy because if I did have arcana, I would be pumping out scrolls left and right. So anyway, the point being is that as a power gamer, you need to take it as a challenge for, to synergize the party and not complain that they're not doing what they want you to do. And along those lines, expect non-optimal decisions from the party, and don't be ungracious about it. Don't be berating. Sometimes a colleague is going to choose the ring of water walking and not the ring of spell storing. And you can pull your hair out all you want about that, but at the end of the day, it's incumbent upon you to figure out how to use that ring of water walking to its maximum advantage and not give the guy a hard time for making what you perceive to be a bad choice. Because I promise you, he didn't just choose randomly. He picked it for a reason that makes sense to him and makes it more fun for him. And frankly, it should be more fun for you to be able to leverage that kind of thing. And frankly, I think it's just fun to watch what they do. I mean, I really do enjoy seeing what kind of kooky stuff my party does next. Then don't argue with the GM during gameplay. I touched on this before, but respect other people's time. I'm ex-military, and I always think back to the saying, argue all you want with an order after the battle, right? In the heat of battle, do as you're told, and then have hash all of that stuff out behind the scenes. Don't be overly controlling. Don't try to give too many orders in combat. Don't try to take too much control over what feats are gained or what spells are memorized or stuff. Let people do that, and then you adapt to what they are doing. Don't compete for hero moments. There's plenty to go around. I mean, this isn't necessarily just restricted to power gaming. I mean, everyone hates that person who's always trying to, steal all the glory or hog all the glory, right? Everybody should be having fun. Everyone should be having plenty of hero moments. To that end, buffing and debuffing can be good, right? They're not too flashy, but can, really impact the battle in a way where everyone has a good time. And finally, expect to slip up on occasion. Look, we're a particular personality. We have every right to play this game. We're having fun as well. This is not all about, just bending over backwards to satisfy everyone else. Of course, have a spine. But all I'm saying is choose your battles and don't be afraid to concede graciously. It's a good characteristic to have as a person. One final comment that is directed more at DMs about how to handle a power gamer in your party. I guess the main thing is like, don't panic. Don't feel like you need to nerf the power gamer left and right. Don't feel like you need to throw these incredibly powerful encounters at him to challenge him. One thing you need to understand is there's the power of attrition. And I've always just kind of thought back to Star Trek, if you're a fan of Star Trek. They have this thing called the Kobayashi Maru, which was this test that was unbeatable because basically all it was they just kept throwing Klingons at you until you lost. Right? I remember Scotty, actually, it was funny, killed a couple hundred Klingon ships with all these crazy inventive things and ultimately lost because they just kept throwing things at them. So remember that, players, even power gamers, only have so much juice in Dungeons and Dragons. So it's going to play out either one of two ways. Either they are exerting themselves a lot at the beginning and, grabbing a lot of hero moments, but they're going to get tapped out. And so you as a DM can just throw a couple more encounters at the party before they have a chance to rest. And that way the other players have a chance to shine. And then if the player is taking the opposite route, which is what I like to do, and not really exert myself too much at the beginning, because my philosophy is look, a demon might always show up right as we're making camp. And if that happens, I'm going to want to have some gun. So typically I will only cast 1 or 2 spells in an encounter and go with cantrips the rest of the way. And that way, everybody's participating and hero moments are pretty well spread out. And I've actually only had a couple of hero moments throughout my campaign. And it was when my DM was kind enough to, pretty much say exactly that. You guys are making camp. Whoop, there's a demon. And I was able to be like, all right, I've got some juice left, guys. We're going to be okay. And those were memorable moments for me, and I enjoyed those, and I appreciate those. So you can do it that way as a DM. Just remember the power of attrition, and you don't necessarily have to overtune and screw with the power gamer that way, because they're going to run out of power. So anyway, that's it. This is kind of amusing, and so more of a launching point for further discussion. Please let me know what you think in the comments, or share any stories that you might have in the comments or perspectives. I love to see all of that stuff in the comments. And in any case, thank you so much for watching. This has been the Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition Power Gamers Tactics Room. I'm your host, Bill Brown Bafflestone. See you next time.